We're on the cusp of another industrial epidemic, one that would dwarf what we've seen in this country in relation to asbestos.
1 in 4 stonemasons who works with products like Caesar stone will contract silicosis.
Seeing young men like myself and my friends dying, and that's what we're faced with. You know, it's a death sentence. There's nothing we can do. There's no cure. There's no treatment.
While stonemasons are disproportionately affected, 600,000 workers are exposed to silica dust in mining, quarrying and construction.
It's also women, it's people that work in admin, it's people that come to site all the time. If you're there, you're breathing it in, you're susceptible to it.
So far, the government has resisted union calls to ban the product entirely.
We're only in the very early stage of releasing the response to the report the government's received less than 12 months ago.
The union's now threatening to ban their workers from using engineered stone if the government won't act.
That is our objective, to eradicate this product from the building sites of Australia and from the homes of Australia. And to do that, we need both a ban on importation and manufacture.
For Peter Orton, the issue is personal.
My diagnosis of silicosis was done at the end of 2020. It came as a real shock. You've got this disease that's eventually going to kill you. It doesn't just affect you, it affects your family.
He suffered years of exposure to silica dust from drilled rock while working as a geologist.
We'd never heard of silicosis. I protected my ears because it was really loud, but we didn't think about doing stuff to protect ourselves from dust because it wasn't really seen as an issue.
Peter and his fellow silicosis sufferers are now fighting to stop others meeting the same fate.
It's definitely really hard being a mum for 2 girls because I want to be there for them because I don't know what my future holds. You know, my lungs aren't great.
Unfortunately, myself and my friends, we were essentially the guinea pigs for this product. But don't let mine or their deaths be in vain. Let's make a change.
Lee McCallum is from the Silicosis Support Network and joins us now. Lee, a lot of people are really worried about this because they've got it in their kitchen, but it's a much wider issue, isn't it?
It is a much wider issue, unfortunately. It's on construction sites. We have members that are geologists. It's also in the demolition, home renovations. It's a very wide-ranging issue.
Lee, I lost a brother-in-law, Sam, to asbestos-related lung disease, mesothelioma. Is this the new asbestos?
We actually think it's probably worse than the new asbestos. Asbestos diseases have a latency period of 30 years. Silicosis has 5. Once somebody is diagnosed, it's typically in their 20s or their 30s, even early 40s. These are predominantly guys, but have young families, sole breadwinners, and they're just life-limiting illnesses. It's limiting their life, so they don't get to live, you know, to their 60 or 70 and then be diagnosed. It's a lot earlier.
So we can't go through what we went through with asbestos because it took so long to ban that and the debate went on forever despite the evidence that it was killing people. This is urgent, isn't it?
It's very urgent. Action needs to be taken now. People are dying and honestly, it's just not worth it.
Just on the engineered stone cooktops kitchen tops that we're familiar with, obviously it's a problem for the people installing it. Do people who have that in their homes have any reason to worry? Are there any dangers for them?
As long as there's not disturbed, then it's fine. When they've got problems is when they're cutting into it. If they're chiselling, hammering, creating dust, if they're doing home renovations, then there is cause for concern. And it's also people that conducting those renovations. You're exposing your family if you're not doing what's called a wet cut.
Might be time to go back to laminated bench tops. Hey, Lee, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's just frightening to think there'll be more homes having this stuff installed that might then later need to be renovated, kicking the problem even further down the road. Like, it's extraordinary where this could end up. We have been following this story on this show for, 6 years?
Yeah.
I remember doing an interview, sitting down with a couple of guys, and there's nothing like actually sitting and talking to someone who's in what should be the prime of their life and just seeing everything dawn on them about everything they're losing, all the hopes they had for their futures, the way it's damaged their family life, all the things that we value in life. I
mentioned my brother-in-law there. He died at 61, went home in the last week of his life to die. The pain that he was in, that was mesothelioma, but this is very, very similar. I wonder how you convince people, though, who are, putting in a new kitchen or renovating a house, to not touch this stuff. That's the only way you're really going to stop. If you stop the demand for this, that stone, then you're halfway to fixing the problem,
this is part of that. I reckon a lot of people, they got it in their homes because they had no idea.
Oh,
let's be honest.
We probably all got it in our houses.
Yeah, but I think that if they know this, and more people are getting to know it, the demand has to
You'd think so.
taper at some point.